Okay, Gabriel Yard, you don't usually work in animation, so when it came to composing the score for The Prophet, was it a big transition that you had to make, or was it an easy one?
Not really, Zach. You know, I've worked on several animation before, but mostly in Europe. Um, and for instance, I composed for an animation called Gandhar of René Laloux, which was released in the US in the 90s by Harvey Weinstein. So I did work a lot. For instance, I did also a series of 113 episodes of a character, very funny, called Ernest the Vampire, who is a little elephant. So I did a lot of this, but not anything, you know, in America, no. But in Europe, I did a lot. So I had a little experience, and this knowledge has helped me when composing the score for The Prophet.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are some of the differences, if there are any, in composing for an animated film as opposed to a live action one? I'm not just talking about in terms of like the kind of music that you write, but in terms of production schedules, or, you know.
It is different, and finally, it's very close to the way I'd like to work usually, and I'm asked to work in fiction. I like to be involved in a project since the beginning, and in animation, you have to be involved in the project since the beginning because the animation is made on the music. So what I like about animation is that, well, you start by composing something based on a script on a storyboard, and then this is used for the animation. So on this way in production, it's very interesting to work with animators and on animation. Now the difference also for animation is we underscore every step of the action. Whether in fiction film you don't do that; it's too much on the nose. The other difference also is that everything is very exaggerated. Would it be in, you know, if it's light and playful, exaggerated, whether the film is fun or dramatic. So these things are very different. But it's been a long time I'm interested in animation, and not animation also, but in film, in music animation. I'm a great admirer of Scott Carstalling, Oliver Nelson, and I spent time listening to these people, which have brought to animation consciousness is unique, something which is musically so beautifully written, and also only using like classical themes from Rossini or Liszt or Schubert or Beethoven or whoever. But there is such a giving in some way in the writing, in the orchestration, and it's only animation. I've never heard as much beautiful orchestration than in animation films by people like Scott Bradley, Carl Stalling, and all these composers.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about The Prophet. How did you come up with the various themes that are in this film? Where did your inspiration come from?
You know, I was born in Lebanon, just like Gibran. So I came across this book when I was a teenager, and I was struck by how it was written, the words and the ideas and spirituality and all that. But I never thought that a film would be made from this, because it's kind of gospel. So you cannot make a film just about teaching and chapters on love, on death, on work and drink, and etc. And so when Salma Hayek came to me, I was very curious about how the film could be made. And then I had the script from Roger Allers, and I thought it was brilliant because he has created a story which is surrounded by chapters taken from Gibran. But there is a main story which relays all the chapters together. What I wanted to do is, my inspiration came from many elements. It came from the reading, from looking at the script, from sometimes, you know, in the chapters I had to go from nothing. For instance, on the chapter The Marriage, John Sfar came to me and said, I have an idea, two people dancing together in an empty restaurant. Would you come up with the music? And then I would start to animate and to draw even my characters. On other chapters, I had to work on the animation already made. For instance, the brilliant Bill Plimpton, or I don't know. I mean, I don't remember all the names, but the inspiration came mostly from unexisting things. It's just not incarnated yet. And so it speaks to me a lot, because my imagination gets excited by all these things which don't exist and which you make exist. You don't come like on a fictional film almost by the end of the process and you say, well, now we're going to spot the film. There's no spotting here. You have to spot it almost each time. Each chapter is its own spotting. So on Death, for instance, with the brother Bridgie, which are so talented, brilliant, they came up with a storyboard. And I had this idea to say, well, if I want to talk on Death, I would love to use the cello, which is very somber, but also very hopeful. And just by using this, it gave me almost the idea of the lineup for the film, because the lineup for the film is cello solo, and I'm so proud and so honored to have one of the most wonderful cellists in the world, Yo-Yo Ma, who accepted, to play the main theme and to play also on Death. So it was cello, large orchestra, and a lot of Oriental instruments. But I was not meaning to do an Oriental score, because likewise Gibran, this should address the whole world, not a race or religion or whatever. It's kind of universal. But it happened that I used Oriental instruments, I used Greek instruments, I used Hungarian instruments, because there is cymbalum sometimes, ethnic flutes, very different things. But the main thing is, never I've been participating to a work of love coming from many different people, all federated by Roger Allers, who wrote the main story and who directed, and all these animator directors who each one brought his own style, his own pace, his own spirit, his own giving. He gave for this project.
Yeah, one of the things two things I was going to ask you. One was about the music of the region and how that influenced you. You covered that a bit, but also about, with these 8 different directors, each bringing a different vision.
Yeah, well, as I told you, I worked sometimes close to the directors. With Roger Allers, he came to Paris and we worked together, and I've sent him all my demos, and we were proceeding together, evolving together and progressing together. As for the animators, I worked very close with the Bridges brothers and with Joan Sfar, The Marriage, and for the others, because I covered only 5 chapters, and the other chapters had wonderful songs, by Damien Rice, and so I had only 5 chapters, and on these chapters I had to work on the already finished product. It was, for example, Bill Plimpton on Eating and Drinking has such a style, and I had to follow his pace, his style, his evolving, his animation in some way. But what can federate all these things together? I think that it's probably my music style, without any yeah, I just say my music style, my music language, my music thematic also. This probably has federated things together. And also, maybe you don't know, Zach, but I've spent more than a year working on this.
Oh,
and
wow.
a year of crafting, of giving, of trying, trying also sometimes to be wrong, because being wrong sometimes is also part of the process. We cannot only aim everything we do. So I had all this time spent on this project. And this is just an evidence that I gave really all my consciousness, all my knowledge, and all my love to this project.
So this being an awards website, I have to mention the fact that you've won an Academy Award. You've been nominated a couple of times. What did that kind of recognition mean for you?
Well, it means a lot to me, to have the recognition of the film community, of my colleagues. And also, I had the responsibility to keep working with care and diligence and to write beautiful things in order to be worthy of it. But I want to mention also that all the 3 nominations I've got, it's with the same director. It's Anthony Minghella, who unfortunately passed away 8 years ago. And all my Oscar nomination came from working with him. So it was so important to work with him creatively. And each time he brought me to somewhere else. I did The English Patient with him. And many people asked me to be romantic, epic, etc., like the English. And Anthony each time asked me to do something else, something different, renew myself. So the Oscar was great in some, I'm sure, I mean, I love to have this, who wouldn't love that? But at the same time, sometimes it could put you in a kind of speciality that I'm an epic, romantic, etc. And Anthony Minghella has each time brought me somewhere else.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, just talking about that, the next movie you two did together was Talented Mr. Ripley, right?
Yeah.
Which is a completely different kind of score.
Completely different. Yeah, yeah. You know, we can, if we want really to what could drive me as a composer is to renew myself all the time. Would it be to write for I don't know, for a film, for a fiction, for an animation, for a ballet, for a symphonic work, or even for a publicity? Each time is just to renew yourself, and also to give the best of your work, of your research also, and to bring beauty into this world. I think that's the most important for a composer.
Do you think you did that with The Prophet?
I hope I did that. I hope, really. I just want people to watch this film because it has almost the whole word in it. You know, it's made by so many different people, so it's kind of symbol of what could be universal.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on the film.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
And you. Bye.
Yeah.